Hello and welcome to The Broker Room. I'm Sarah Wells and I'm thrilled to be hosting the podcast as a broker myself with over 20 years experience across finance, banking and media. We've got some great guests lined up this season as we continue to connect with industry colleagues and share valuable insights, market trends and business strategies. Welcome to The Broker Room. I'm your host, Sarah Wells, and today I'm joined by a very dear friend and colleague of mine, Mr. Robert Ward. Hang on, I can't do that. I have to call you Boggy. We'll get to that in a second about how you got that nickname.
Yep.
You are an absolutely well-loved member of the VOW YBR family, fellow VOW VBF forum member, and also director of Premium Broker.
Yep, that's correct. Good to see you, Wellesley.
It's good to see you too. I was waiting for the Wellesley part. I just did the big pause. Yeah. So welcome, Boggy. Now, being our VOW Financial Commercial Ambassador for 2023, I'm going to shift gears a little bit because I know you're not always super comfy about talking about awards like many of us are. So to get first cab off the rank, if we could jump into our broker DeLorean time machine, as you know, from Back to the Future,
yep.
And we could go back to that very moment where you decided to defect from bank to broker world. What is maybe that one piece of advice you would have shared with yourself then that could have made this journey a little bit easier, a little bit less bumpier, and maybe a little bit more fun?
First of all, I was pretty young back then, so it would have been Marty McFly and not the Doc. I feel like the Doc now, though. Listen, I think the advice I would have given myself at that time was to ask more questions and lean on other people that are in the industry. So I didn't really know anyone in the broking industry. I knew a lot of people in the banking industry. But I think that's why now I'm so free and giving advice on how to settle in, mentoring. I didn't really have a mentor. I just jumped in the deep end and swam. And I stuffed up the first couple. I've got to admit, I was a hard learning curve. So I think if I asked more questions from the BDMs, I didn't know what BDMs were. I didn't even know how to spell the word BDM.
Well, did we actually have BDMs back then? I know we had some people that kind of helped us because you and I sort of started around about the same time. And, I was chatting with a guest on another show about this sort of element of humility or not needing to know everything. And that's what I'm really hearing from you. I think a lot of people when they first come into the sector, whether you've come from, bank land to broker land or whether you're just coming into finance for, your first career, is really not to think that you need to know everything. To ask questions, lean on people. And that's the thing you do so well today. You make yourself so available to everyone within both the VOW and YBR family and help get them through.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I think I was coming from a business banking background, so I was probably a little bit arrogant, to be honest, that I thought that I already knew everything. So therefore I didn't have to ask for help. But the reality I did. And once you surround yourself with like-minded people, people that are willing to give you answers to your questions. It's a great little community we've got now that everyone's open to do it. Just today I've sent an email around to some mates going, listen, how would you do this? And everyone's free and open and most people are smarter than me, which is good.
But I think we can definitely learn from anyone in our field. And it's really good that you share that because, you're so well respected by so many people within the industry. And I think it's really, powerful for people to identify that sometimes you can come into a new industry or even whether you're going from resi to commercial, whether you're diversifying, whatever it is, whatever challenge we've got, that we don't need to know everything and it's okay to share. And given that maybe we're kind of technically competitors to one another, I certainly know over the years whenever I've had a curly one or just wanted to bounce, I know I've always been able to pick up the phone and have a chat to you. And that's where, really developing those close relationships with one another as well as with our BDMs can really help make the path a little less lonely, a little bit less difficult, and also help us be able to provide those solutions to our clients with a bit of the wisdom of the crowd. Yeah,
I agree. And you touched on that loneliness bit. When I first started, I was in my office at the back of my house. It wasn't even an office. It was just a veranda. With
Pre-pandemic work from home.
Yeah, exactly. Because I couldn't afford, I just went cold turkey from work. And I found that it was getting very lonely. So it was just so good to get out there. And as you know, I probably don't suffer loneliness very well because I like to be around people.
You're definitely a people person. I definitely know that when it comes to conferences and bits and pieces, you're always out there, chatting to people and getting amongst it. So
it's my happy place, conference.
Yeah, we do love a conference, don't we? Yeah, definitely. But what happens on tour stays on tour.
Yeah.
So let's get to some questions, Boggy, because I want to hear a little bit more about you and like to share a little bit more about you with the listeners today. So let's get on to a really kind of curly one. We all love a Monday. We just love Monday mornings, don't we? So what do you do that shifts you into a perspective and keeps you focused, obviously apart from coffee?
Yeah, definitely probably have a couple of coffees to tell you the truth. I'm actually a pretty slow starter for a Monday. I really, I do find it hard. Like there's no doubt about it because I like my weekends. I like, I like sport. The kids are playing a heap of sport at the moment, so it's good. So Mondays I do find a bit of a drag. But I think once you actually get to work or you sit down at your table and start working, you're actually thinking about what the clients wants out of their outcomes. And then when you know what they want and how excited they get about getting a new house or how excited they are because they've saved a couple of $1,000s on a refinance, it's not that hard to actually get into the groove of it. And then as long as you're thinking about someone else, I think it's not that hard.
It's really what I hear really inspires you is helping people.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Whether it be, like we always say, it's never a house, it's always a home.
Yeah.
They get excited, they go through the milestones with us, but
Yep.
it's all the future memories that are kind of going to come up, or those moments.
Yeah.
And Monday morning is kind of one of those critical moments because they've been thinking about it over the weekend. They've been making offers.
Yep.
They're super excited to speak to us and tell us all of their exciting plans. But one of the things I think a lot of brokers struggle with, and I know myself over the years, and this might be good just to kind of touch on, is, that staying organized, staying focused, and not being so led by people that are going on around us, whether it's responding or reacting to clients, or that piece of bad news that's coming on a Friday afternoon that we're kind of going to do something on a Monday morning. So how do you prioritize?
Oh, listen, I wish I had a real answer for you because I don't.
Even not having an answer makes people feel a little bit more, I suppose, at ease because we really do have autonomous jobs.
Yeah, exactly right. I think again, if you put your feet into the other shoes of the client, right, and just sort of realize what they want. And sometimes that's a quick, bad answer. I can just say, listen, we can't do it. I always plan a bad answer with solutions, right? I go, listen, we can't do this, but what we could do is we could wait to the end of the financial year for some more financials to come through. If you get rid of all these credit cards, you want to go back with at least a solution so you just don't go put up the barrier and say, listen, nothing, we can't do anymore.
And I think that also reminds us that, we do this each and every day, but not everyone goes and applies for finance. So sometimes a no is a no. It's a hard no or a soft no. But really where brokers set themselves apart from the rest of the channels available is that we do go back with those solutions. So what I'm hearing is come up with a solution first, kind of pitch it, and then sit down and talk through the client and then come up with a plan and keep them going.
Yeah, 100% agree. 100% agree.
Can't disagree with that one, Boggy.
Yeah.
So
the other thing on that too is we're always driven by deadlines too, right? So that's the worst part of our job in a way is that everyone buys a property and they've got 7 days or they go into auction on Friday or Saturday. So that motivates you pretty heavily.
The Broker Room is proudly brought to you by the Yellow Brick Road Group. To stay up to date and learn more about our exciting industry, head on over to brokers.ybr.com.au and click on the podcast tab. That's brokers.ybr.com.au. Wherever you listen to our show, remember to follow us or subscribe to be notified of our new and upcoming episodes. The most challenging thing about what we do is we don't get to set our own deadlines. We have to constantly reprioritize, figure out who we can move in, who we can move out, and work to other people's deadlines. And it can be a little bit exciting, but some days it can also be like just super, super challenging. And you're going to have to, push one person out, bring one person in. And unfortunately at the moment, refinancing will always take, a second seat to your purchases. And most importantly, it's about educating your clients and letting them know. Sometimes I have to ring people on a Monday and say, look, I know I was going to be able to help you this week, but I'm going to have to move you because I've got something else I need to do as well. And letting them know that they're still important, but also understanding that, banks got to work to SLAs. We've got to, get people into their homes. It can certainly be challenging, but communication is also what I hear.
I agree.
With clients.
Communication. The other thing that you can do is if you've got some support, I know some brokers that actually team up together. So when they're away or they're busy, they can lean on the other broker to help them out. I'm lucky that I've got some quality staff that help me out.
Yeah, you've got a great team. You built a great team, Bobby.
Yeah, it's good.
Because as we know we're going to get busy. As soon as we book a holiday, head to an airport or put on that at our office.
Yeah, I'm actually going to Melbourne this week with my staff. So I don't know who's going to do the work then.
I'm sure it will get done anyway. You can do it. Exactly. So let's jump back to 2023 for a moment. How well do you think we're navigating these current market conditions? Because it's certainly changed a lot in the last 12 or 18 months.
Oh, hasn't it? Yeah. I was actually thinking about this morning, and I'm a little bit worried. A little bit worried that we're not doing enough, or that we're doing some things that are not quite right. Because everyone's heard about the mortgage cliff, right? But I've got a lot of clients that ring up and they're worried themselves, right?
A lot of people are really worried. You read the newspapers, you
Yeah.
hear the term mortgage cliff.
Yeah.
Do you think it's something that we can change now, or it's something that we should have thought about? Because I've spoken to a lot of brokers about it, and when I was putting clients into fixed rate debt 2 or 3 years ago, sort of always spoke about it as being a tool to reduce your cost of capital, not a strategy to be able to afford debt. So how can we take what we could have done in the past and do it better now?
Yeah, I agree. We did the same thing. We said, listen, you need to take advantage of these low rates while they're there, because they're not going to be there forever. I'm not sure how many people remembered that, though. They're just coming off, and they're already spending the money.
Yeah.
I noticed the banks are coming out with these more lenient, the 1% buffer, which we're hearing a lot of at the moment, which is, if that's going to help the client get a better result, then I'm all for it. But I'm also a little bit cautious about where it's going to lead us if there's another 2 or 3 rate rises.
Yeah, it's a really tricky thing, trying to help people be able to move, because we learn a lot coming out of, 2017 and 2018 when we had, floor rates, we had situations where people just couldn't move. And that's really where the term mortgage prisoners came out. And I think that's something that we don't want to repeat again.
Yeah.
But we also have to remember that rates are lower now than they were during GFC. I mean, some of the discounts that we're getting on the variables are huge, 2.5%.
Do you remember when they were 0.7, 0.5?
I remember when 0.5, I remember when we got to 1% off, and that was like, an epic discount. So I think a lot of it is about educating clients about where we are sitting at the moment. But you hit on a really important point. People forget. They forget quite often, and that's where that education piece is really important for us, is to keep reaffirming that education in our clients' minds about what they can do to help manage their own levels of debt. And I know that's something that you and your team do really well around compliance, education, and making sure that clients are aware that they have a series of actions and behaviours that can ultimately put them in the best position possible.
Yeah. I think that sometimes clients can get information overload from us, to be honest. Like, we've got the statement of credit system. It's so big in a way. It's like it's like reading your terms and conditions on your Apple phone, right? That's 23 pages long.
What could we do better? Because obviously we've got to give them a whole bunch of information. We've got DocuSign, which they go out, they come back within 60 seconds and we know they haven't read it.
Yeah.
How can we, throughout that process, reaffirm those critical pieces of information?
I think it's when you have that first meeting with them and sit down with them. We also push that we're not going to be here for 5 minutes. We're going to be here for the next 5, 10, 20, 30 years, whenever you need help. Okay, so they should be ringing you up for the first, whenever they've got a question. And they may not remember it, because, I'm in this industry and I've forgotten more than I've ever learned, right? So a client to hear it 1 time or 2 times is probably not going to get into the memory banks. Yeah.
Particularly in that lead up to approval, because I have a joke with mine. I go, what you hear in the first part of our relationship is blah, 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 approved, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So it really is that critical post-settlement follow-up where they feel they can pick up the phone, call you, send an email, or even for a lot of brokers out there when we've got frequently asked questions, maybe record, 30 or 60 seconds of, video or audio that you can replay back to them, because a lot of the time it's those moments after settlement where all of a sudden something kind of pops up that we could have covered, probably did cover, but they didn't remember. So that's, I think, a really good reminder for everyone out there today that we can never, ever communicate too much in the life cycle. But bear in mind, maybe those first 2 or 3 meetings or that first part of the process, they're probably not going to remember a lot about what we say.
And that's the important thing, that they know that they can come back, right? Yeah. If they can come back and easily pick up the phone and ring you about anything or send you an email about something, then that's more important, because if they don't remember it, then they'll ask a question, and they're happy to ask the question. Probably comes back to your first question, is about being brave enough just to ask your BDM, ask other people in the industry for answers, right? Yeah. So if you're more comfortable doing that, you're going to go.
And you're also going to build better relationships with your clients. And they're going to feel safe coming back to you and asking those silly questions, whether it be about their repayments, offset accounts. Yep. But it's important to build those relationships.
I sometimes get them to speak to James, who knows more than I do.
Build a team out there.
Build the team,
So for all the brokers listening, what can they do to influence in their practices or businesses? You know me, I love the term practice over business, to really set themselves up for this next 12 months. So maybe what are the things you're working on, some things you're stopping, starting, do a little bit more of or less of, to really focus on getting through that next 12 months and this mortgage cliff that we're all talking about?
Yeah. We're not doing a lot different, to be honest, but what we're doing is we're implementing our plans we've had for the last few years. So we've always had a team that completes annual reviews for all of our clients, right? So we've got a list that we go through every year. Sometimes we move people up the list when they ring up and we move them and do annual reviews. But that's more about that retention of the
keeping
clients.
engaged.
Keeping engaged. We've got formats and processes for doing that. We'll send them a letter saying that we've just gone back to the bank and saved them 0.5%. So getting those bigger discounts where we can from lenders, I think that's very important, especially when rates have been going up so much. They get a little bit of relief with 25 basis points back down or something like that.
And also encouraging them that they can still keep paying that higher level of a repayment because, it's just getting them. I think one of the things that we've really got to be mindful of is not encouraging people to cut back on repayments if they can continue to pay more.
Yeah.
So any guidance for your team around how they can have those difficult conversations with people? Because not everyone is going to be comfortable and at ease with their cash flows. Some people are going to be stressed or throw in one of those life-changing events like a divorce or a death or redundancy. That's really some of the things that we're going to have to start to think about when we start talking about recession or, poor economic performance in the community.
Yeah. I think it's about communication and getting them to come back and, again, speaking to you first. Right? So if they're coming back to you with one of those concerns, then you can address it. And then we have this process that's been built over years and we've fine-tuned it. The process we've shared with some other brokers. So
which I know you have. You're great. You're not one of these brokers that kind of keeps all of your IP to yourself. You really are about making the industry better and more user-friendly, but also giving brokers the confidence to have that process, to be able to lean in and have conversations. Because I know a lot of brokers are always cautious about where our job and our role starts and ends and where we start to sort of, lead into giving advice or maybe areas that probably we shouldn't go into. But what I'm hearing is having a conversation, giving a client an opportunity to be able to talk to you about what's going on, and then reaching out to maybe your colleagues or your aggregator or your compliance people and saying, okay, here's a problem I have. How can I face it? What can I do? How can I help that client? It's going to lead us into far better relationships and also demonstrate our value.
Yeah, no, 100% agree with you. Yeah.
So, Boggy, we're coming to the end of our conversation. And to close out our time today, do you have any words of advice or encouragement for those, including myself, who from time to time can lose our mojo and our loan joe? And we, as you said, we're heading into some difficult conversations. So what can you share? What can you, maybe guide us with, kind of put into practice that can keep us going through those difficult days or when the proverbial hits the fan?
Yeah. It's a funny world we live in, right? So the mobile phone, right, it's right here next to me, right? And I have got it turned off.
It never stops.
I have got it turned off at the moment. And it's sort of a relief to have it turned off.
It's nice, isn't it?
Yeah. So I actually do that a bit. I just turn my phone off.
To unplug.
Yeah, just to unplug. I love the work-life balance. It's why I'm a broker as well, right? So I work long hours, but I work the hours I want to. So if it's a Friday afternoon, you may not be able to get hold of me, right?
From 2 o'clock onwards?
Yeah, maybe a little bit earlier than that.
So you're talking about like unplugging, and I think that's really what I'm hearing for so many brokers out there, because we do pretty much have a 24/7, 7-day-a-week job, or that's kind of maybe what consumers think.
Yeah.
So how do you actually unplug?
Well, at the moment, currently, I've just bought a new house, which is quite run down. So I've become a gardener. So
are you tending to your garden, Boggy?
Oh, sort of, yeah. Trying to. I'm actually just cutting stuff up, to tell the truth.
So it's finding something physical to do, whether it be go for a walk, maybe walk the dog. I know myself, I've got to actually put my phone in the drawer, put it on, do not disturb. Just take those moments to actually unplug from work.
Yeah.
Because one of the lines I always remind myself is I'm not a cardiothoracic surgeon. No one is actually going to die. They might be disappointed. They might be displeased. I might miss an email, but the world is not going to end. But most importantly, if I can take that break and I can be recharged, then I can bring my A game to the next conversation I have.
Yeah. The other thing we do is we've got like some of the broker mates that I've got are some of my best mates, right? We talk the same language.
Did you do lunches and golf and catch up, a lot of social stuff?
Yeah, I love that, because you actually, whilst you're relaxing, you're also in a way working and you're networking. But you're also, if you've got those problems that are bugging you, if you hit a golf ball with a guy and ask him the question, right, it's like you're not even working, right? It's
That
good
is
fun.
true. You kind of have a bit of fun.
Yeah, you have a bit of fun, but you're also actually achieving a little bit at the same time. And you've got the same problems. You and I talk, we've got the same
challenges, and we've had them for 20 years, and I don't think they're ever going to go away. But sometimes it's just nice to know that you're not alone.
Sometimes it's venting. Like, I know you ring me up just to vent and have a chat.
Definitely
and
do.
I don't have an answer for you, but I've just let you talk, right?
Yeah.
So, that's the way it works.
Thank you for coming in today. I super appreciate it, and I'll see you again soon.
Yeah, you owe me one.
I definitely do. I might have to take you out to lunch now. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Broker Room with Sarah Wells. That's me, by the way. If you enjoyed today's episode and want to listen to more, then head on over to brokers.ybr.com.au. While you're there, you can reach out to the Yellow Brick Road team, whether you're an aspiring mortgage broker looking to make a career change or just stay informed in this exciting industry. Until the next episode, take care and always stay curious.